pretty good. Hello everybody, Robbie the Atomic Engineer here, and we are back in quite the different world this time. I've showcased this world, I believe, once before, in another video on my YouTube channel named Project Rbmk. Now, do note, I do, well, like everybody knows that does watch my channel, from my 83 subscribers that I currently have. This is the only finished reactor that I have right now. But I do have another one on the way, which I have a video of that made already. But here's some you guys probably haven't seen before. These small reactors, these were the very first reactors that I built 3 years ago. This one was completed on the 30, I believe it was the 30th of January. 30th of January, 22, 21, 20, 2019, I believe, is when I began this project. It was when I finally got along watching the HBO Chernobyl miniseries. That's what got me into this. First prototypes, second prototypes. That's when I came up with this little control rod tool, which I need to fix because I accidentally chopped a part of that out. It's when I came up with the first lid, first cut in half reactor, and then my knowledge expanded, and I finally have the final-ish version. This is minus the coolant reflection channels, which I do need to add. Spend the time of the day real quick to be able to show you guys. Like, these are actual graphite bricks. These were a block that I had custom made myself. They're stackable, and you, believe it or not, you actually can fall through them. Graphite bricks, the whole entire lid. Graphite bricks were custom built. The caps were all custom done, and block bench coded into the game with Java to show, like, here are Project Rbmk blocks. It's just small little blocks back at the moment, but moving forward, what we're actually here for. We're here for this. I've showcased this in Project Rbmk. This has changed. Let me set this to night real quick. This has changed. I finally added control rod interactivity. You can interact with control rods with this now using these 3 control rod processors. And this one manages all of the reds plus 3 yellows. This one manages the rest of the. This one manages 15 more yellows. This one manages the rest of the 14 plus a central green. Now, how these work. I'll give me some hoppers. That's that. Give me that torch. How these work. Starting off with how they are built. We'll go over here to this one because this is the most simplistic one. We have primary, secondary, and then triarity. First I'll explain how this works. We'll go off of part 2. We'll go off of secondary, so give me a bit of redstone dust. So there is a signal. Say this is the signal coming from the. I forget actually. Let me. Where do I have that signal coming from? Okay, so it's coming from. Okay, so it's coming from Hopper. So say there's a signal coming from the Hopper. which is what would actually be happening here. Point of that is that if there are items inside of that hopper, which would indicate a fully inserted control rod group, but it would be sending a signal into this hopper, locking this hopper, preventing any control rod withdrawal from said processor. So it starts off with the signal. Yeah, I actually have to. First we have the torch. Very first we have the torch. I'll just build one of these real quick. We have the torch. This has to be coming from the back, so we have the torch. We have our insertion hopper, our withdrawal hopper, and then our hopper is linked into your withdrawal dropper. This is the insertion dropper. This is the main hopper. And on the end of that hopper, there's a comparator. Now, the purpose of the comparator, again, is to read a 0 to 15 redstone signal. So say that there's nothing in there right now. I stick one redstone in there, there's one redstone signal. If I were to make that a full stack of 64, I believe that might be a 3 redstone signal. I don't know, but this thing entirely filled up with 5 stacks of 64 gives me a full 15 redstone signal, which is what I want at the end of that. So we start off with our redstone, and actually no, we start off with our redstone actually inside of the hopper. Well, for this thing isn't even fully built. Then we have a row of hoppers linking into this dropper, which is the insertion dropper. We're going to link them in. We don't need to link it to this dropper because when this dropper drops an item, it's going to drop an item into that hopper, which is going to circulate that back into this dropper so that it could be reinserted. So, basic enough. I hope that's a basic enough of an example of how the control rod processors work. Basically, we're always checking. Starting off with the primary, we're always checking to see if there's an item, if there's at least one item in here. If there's nothing in there, then that line would turn off. Right now, it actually is. No, okay, this line doesn't turn off. So right now, as long as there's one item inside that hopper, this line will always be on. This hopper will always be locked. But I'll say we finally unlock that. So there's no items in that hopper. It unlocks this. This hopper is still locked. Why? Well, because insertion. When I turn the power on, this will come up, and when I go pull the insertion lever, this will in turn pull away and allow this clock to interact with this dropper, dropping the items into the hopper. Of course, we are fully inserted at the moment, so we don't need to worry about that. So let me go ahead and turn this thing on. Go ahead and turn this thing on so I can show you guys how this thing works. There is no more clock reset. That clock for AZ5 has been entirely redone. Just rename that to AZ5 real quick. Alright, master power on. It's going to go through a little check sequence. And then we're finally going to boot into all the rods that are currently inserted. There we have it. There are all the rods that are currently inserted. This tool, this on the side, technically I guess you can use that. That's hooked up to that's currently hooked up to primary. I'm going to make a system to where, what do I want to make that? Maybe a source range monitor. Yeah, I might be able to make a source range monitor. I'm not sure if Rbmk reactors have this SRM or APRM. SRM is source range monitor, APRM is average power range monitor, which I would assume they would, because how the fuck else are you going to get your neutron thermal power? Basically, what I'm using this for right now is kind of a guide of processor number 1 withdraw. So when this is fully delit, that's processor number 1 is fully withdrawn. We're going to start withdrawing off of number 2 and then number 3. Eventually, I'm going to switch this over to upscale when we switch over to the next processor. I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. But right now, we're fully booted up. We're ready to go. I'm going to start withdrawing control rods, and I'll kind of show you how this works. As rods leave the corresponding channels, the light turns off, which is what would happen on the real thing. Eventually, I'm going to have a control rod group selector, and these are all going to be withdrawn. All the rods are going to be withdrawn as groups. So here we are, almost. Group 1 fully withdrawn. When the top one goes out. Alright, that's it. That's group number 1. Group number 1 is out. Now it goes on 14. And so on and so forth. There's group 2. Technically, processor number 2, we are now withdrawing from processor 3, I believe. Yeah, we're withdrawing from 3 now. I see that line went out. Number 3 is almost done. And number 3 is now out. We are now entirely, fully withdrawn. All the rods are out. So that means all, if not most, of the items from the hopper, from the central hopper, should be recirculated back to the dropper. Now the dropper controls all insertion, again, either casual insertion through the regular clock, which broke somehow actually. Go ahead and fix that. I don't know how that ended up happening. I couldn't have shorted. There's no way I could have shorted the clock. I don't know, but these repeater clocks are so obsolete. Everybody uses these nowadays. I like to use hopper clocks. These hopper clocks, fucking observer clocks, which is what I use for Scram. So insertion can go either via this, via normal, which is this repeater clock, which is set to the same tick speed that a hopper transfer would be, or Scram. So this is just a believe it or not, this is actually my Scram keeper. And that's my Scram keeper. This I don't have an insertion or withdrawal block. I actually need to label this one. That's withdraw. This is Scram. This is Scram Keeper. Yeah, I'll label this. Scram Keeper. We already know this is insert. This is insert. That's withdraw. We'll go ahead, go over here, we'll label these. This one is insertion block. And then that's an insertion block. Yeah, okay, that's an insertion, double insertion block actually. Yeah, this is an insertion, just straight up it's an insertion block designed to either if the power is off, it'll block insertion if power is off, or if there are items inside of the dropper, the insertion dropper, to prevent so basically the point of insertion blocking from that is so that when you're inserting the rods, they insert in sequence, so that you don't end up inserting like 2 rods at once or nothing like that. It's also to keep the processors kind of synchronized in a way. Well, technically we want this out of sync because we want that one to insert first, that one to insert second, and that one to insert last. But if we're scramming, I put no scram block. If we're scramming, all are going in at once. So, which I'm actually about to show you guys right now how scram works. Let me go ahead and label this though. This is power insertion block. It's master power insertion block. This is insertion block from number 3. And that's insert. Do I have I do not have a withdraw block. Actually, no, I do actually. That's if I'm stealing off of this withdrawal line, which I am. That's coming from that's withdraw. That comes from master withdraw line. Yeah, okay, this is master withdraw line, so yeah, technically the withdraw would be block 2 if the power was off. If the power was off, yeah, those torches would light, and then it would completely block all that out, so I don't have to worry about that. So yeah, let me go ahead. I'm finally gonna cut all the bull crap and show you guys Scram. So there are 2 ways this can Scram. One with the alarm silenced and one with it unsilenced. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the unsilenced version first, because I think that's what most of you guys want to see. Is at 5 engaged. And now we can use that on the left as a guide of how far through we are through the Scram. Well, technically right here, this is Scram Keeper number 1. So as soon as there were no items inside of processor number, as soon as there were no items inside of insertion dropper number 1, on processor number 1, this will auto clear. As you can see, most of the rods are in already. They stop blinking. Scram has just cleared. All rods are in. Now I'm gonna go ahead and pull all the rods out again, and I'm gonna show you guys Scram without the alarm. Okay, as you can see, all the rods are in again. The alarm is silenced. AZ5 initiated. Takes a lot longer than a actual 18-second Rbmk Scram, which that's how long non-retrofitted Rbmks take. Nowadays, after the safety modifications, they take 12 seconds to scram. Someday, one of these days, I'm going to figure out how to do that. Scram clear. All rods are in. Now all rods are in. So that basically covers it. Basically covers how this whole entire thing works, start to finish. These are just basic redstone lines, just to pick the signal from his corresponding rod. And yeah, I'll go ahead and fly through all the, what do you call these, the red coders, the redstone signal strength readers. These read from 0 to 15 redstone strength, so that's, these definitely came in handy. So we have one that's entirely wired up, and one that's entirely wired underneath. Well, almost entirely wired underneath. Eventually, there's going to be 168 more. I'm gonna build. Either I'm going to expand the PCB even more. I'm going to expand this PCB that way and back. I definitely need to go back. If there are 100 of these, I need 68 more. I actually might end up rearranging these. These are all going to be for green. And eventually, I'm going to build probably 3, 4, 5, 6, God knows how many more of those I'm going to have to make. And eventually I'm going to have all 211 control rods working. One way or another, I'm going to have selection switches, group selectors. This thing is going to be as close of a replica, as close of a working replica to Chernobyl Control Room 3 as possible. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and come to a conclusion with this video. Thank you guys for watching. This is Robbie the Atomic Engineer. Go ahead, like, share, subscribe. I definitely need more subscribers. I definitely want to know if you guys are interested in my content or not. So with that, we come to conclusion. Thank you guys for watching. You all have a good rest of your evening.